Just give me survive. Just give me survive.
A zombie apocalypse. I think I'd just panic. Like I would not. I'll probably be like, if it was a movie and there were like 4 of us, I'd be like the first one.
Mine looks like the Voltron head.
I know, right? Because you got the hey, McCullers.
Alright, cool. I'm recording.
Hanzi hona bara apundiri botan Hanzi akasara.
Excellent. That's the way we like it. Go, Zash.
Okay. So I don't know how to start this, man.
Morning.
Good morning, all.
This is us.
Yep.
Common sense.
My name is Zash.
Rudy.
We
We would like to talk about growth, and I think the main reason why I wanted to bring this up was I was reading that story about that kid who his acceptance to Harvard was rescinded. So he was I don't know if it's important to mention his background, but he was one of the kids involved in the Parkland shooting. He wasn't the shooter, he was one of the victims. And he's been going on doing like activism work and all of that sort of stuff since then. He's spoken before Congress and like, all of that sort of stuff.
A fierce debate is raging now about whether Harvard University made the right decision by rescinding its acceptance of a Parkland shooting survivor turned gun rights advocate. Kyle Kashuv says that the university pulled his admission after texts and documents surfaced showing that he had used racist and sexist language on social media 2 years ago.
And then already Harvard had accepted him, but then they rescinded the offer, saying that no, we don't think we can have you here anymore because of, this, that, and the other, obviously. And then his argument was that, listen, that was a couple years ago, I've grown. We can't be, if I were to look at Harvard used to have slaves. How can you, is Harvard an inherently racist organization? I don't think so. And I think you must offer the same amount of grace to me. So I don't know, what are your thoughts? And it made me think about things like, like you hear about like, I think it's mostly comedians who get in trouble with this stuff, where they say something in a tweet years ago, and then now the tweets resurface and people then, I don't think they just criticize, they aim to punish, like, as a result of what the person did. I feel like this is a bad intro, but like...
No, it's dope intro. It's solid. It's solid. I couldn't have done it any better. Solid.
You know what, you make the zombie kind of if not for just constant...
That support, that moral support. Love the dude.
But don't you guys think Harvard just did it because they're trying to save face? I don't think, listen, I don't want to say, racism is still there, guys.
They just think it's chilling it.
It's still there. And it's only unfortunate because this cat got caught. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's almost like, it's punishment for him, but I don't think it's because they had a board meeting and they were like, oh no, James has done it, you know. Oh, James, we can't take racists here. You know? Sorry, so that's a British accent as well. But I personally feel they were just like, ooh, save face, we don't want any drama. So this one, he hasn't made the cut because of whatever mistake. Who posted the tweet or whatever he said?
I don't know, a student or something, like a fellow student, I think.
But even the question then begs, so is it okay for Harvard to do that? So even like Mr. Hart with his former gay tweets and stuff that he said about gay people, and then the Oscars wanted him to apologize again.
To get the moment, celebrate the moment. Oh my God, I can't believe it's happened. And then the next morning, after a day full of congratulations and celebrations, I'm hit with an onslaught on social media of my past coming back up again. Literally the next morning. My first thought is, I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna ignore it because it's 10 years old. This is stuff I've addressed. I've talked about this. This isn't new. I've addressed it. I've apologized for it. I'm not gonna pay it any mind.
I think the situations are slightly different. Like for one, the time frames, right? For the kid it was 2 years. For Kevin Hart it was 10 years.
Okay.
And then the other thing is Kevin had already addressed the issue, right? So like when the Oscars was now saying this, it wasn't like those tweets hadn't come forward. It wasn't like he hadn't addressed it. It wasn't like he hadn't said, "Oh, listen, I've moved forward from here." The A, B, C, and the other. So when the thing happened again, it was actually, if I remember correctly, it was him actually refusing to actually host the because he's like, I don't want to keep apologizing for something I've already done. I feel like I'm being held hostage now, like because of mistakes I did years and years ago. This kid has just been called out, right? So it's also a tough situation, right? Because obviously a racist would then say, "Oh no, I've learned from my ways," right? But also somebody who has genuinely learned from his ways would also say that. Yeah. So
And you're being denied Harvard as well.
yeah. So like, is it? I don't know. What's the motive? I guess. Like, are we looking to punish? Are we looking to educate? Like, what is it possible for the two to be one and the same thing? Like, by punishing this kid, is he really learning a lesson?
I think he could still have learned a lesson even if he just got counseling and still went to Harvard. No, seriously. You just 2-hour counseling twice a week. Yo, don't be racist. People like you, blood. And then you move on. You know what I mean? They just make too much drama of the ground. How many of us, if we were to be called out for the things we've either said, done, right? Be in the positions that we're in, be it with Chechi, be it in society, be it even married. Okay, he's perfect, but
No, but it's a difficult one because I think it's difficult to engage true change. Because if you think about yourself, some of the things that you believe that you then get confronted on, that you still stick to or hold on to, take like a real life changing experience or a scenario to then push you to review or reassess that type of thinking. So like it might not have been enough to just counsel. Like
that's interesting. So it almost as if he's more likely to learn by being put under pressure.
Yeah. So like in my opinion, the punishment then pushes him to the point. Okay, no, the consequences of my thinking and my actions are this. I really need to self-analyze and see who I really am and what I really believe.
okay, I've got a question. Similar scenario. Okay, we've got dude number one. Let's call him Jeremy. Okay. Do you think Jeremy is married?
Okay.
Jeremy cheats on his wife, right? Scenario A, Jeremy gets caught, apologizes, Scenario B, can Jeremy still be remorseful even though he hasn't been caught? Be remorseful for what he's done and still be the person who is going to change?
Depends on whether or not he's caught.
Okay, so what you're saying is no, Jeremy one gets caught and he has to deal with consequences of wife.
True.
Jeremy doesn't get caught, but he decides he doesn't want to cheat anymore.
So what I'm saying
Is it possible
so
for
what
him
I'm
to
saying
be
is-
just as remorseful?
So what I'm saying is it's almost like the situation where he isn't caught, he's like in this bubble, right? And so when he's in that bubble and he is genuinely remorseful, right? But then obviously when it then comes out, the idea is like, but if you were really remorseful, then why didn't you say something? Or would you have even have done anything if you hadn't told me? I guess maybe his actions would speak for it. Like if you stopped.
No, but
Okay, no, so we're saying Jeremy has stopped cheating.
yeah, he stopped.
But Jeremy doesn't now tell his wife or confess.
Carries
He's
on
now
with
done.
life.
He carries on with life. Then maybe eventually, 5 years later, it comes out that Jeremy, once upon a time, cheated on his wife.
Can I give a controversial take on this?
Bro,
I think
We're going down that
I
rabbit
think
hole. Yes, Jeremy.
I think that if there's a situation where it will never get out unless Jeremy puts it out there, like let's say maybe he cheated on this date and the date died before anything happened, or she moves away forever or something like that. I think it would be selfish for him to tell his wife, because all it's doing is making himself feel better. I think he must shoulder his own one, and he must what's it called? Because you can say that
Jeremy,
no, she's entitled to the truth, and she's only entitled to the truth if other people know the truth. But if she's
no, someone already knows the truth. The other day, who he cheated with. So
but
yes, so other people know the truth.
right?
But that other date is also in the shameful situation. She's kind of in the same situation with Jeremy.
Okay, so you're saying she's died, so she doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Does Jeremy take this to the grave as a good man to save his wife from the heartache because he's genuinely now changed and he's moved on from that? It's a good one.
That's a tough one. Jeremy.
I will still stand on my extreme that true remorse will then face the consequences of actions, regardless whether it's perceived as selfishness or not. Because he doesn't absolve himself of anything. I guess he.
But do you not think? Think that the fact that he is so remorseful, and he could even say Jeremy dies and he's taken this to his grave. I believe that Jeremy has had this thorn or whatever, and he's continued to be remorseful all the way right to his grave. Is that not enough punishment for Jeremy?
Jeremy didn't tell the truth.
Yes, no, that's true. But Jeremy changed. But we're talking about growth. So Jeremy has said,
Jeremy was
I
still
cannot
scared
do
to
this.
face the consequences.
Yes.
of his
No.
actions.
But the thing is, the consequences aren't solely his. That's what the problem is. So, like, if the consequences were solely his, where he then ends up, okay, fine. No, I don't know what that would end up like. But the idea is, like, if he does tell, then his wife is now in turmoil for things that she had nothing to do with.
No, and that's why our society needs to learn that none of our actions are singular, and that when Jeremy began cheating, he should have thought about the possible repercussions of and the impact on all of those that it possibly involved.
Can I throw another wobbly?
Yeah.
Because we've put cheating there, and cheating is very specific in terms of their processes. What if Jeremy's done something else? How about mine? Jeremy's back there. There's Jeremy gets caught, goes to jail. There's Jeremy stops and he's like, yo, I can't do this again. I will never do this again. Let me move on with my life.
Does Jeremy give back the money that he stole?
I don't blast down that.
So
You're not even thinking of, no, don't even go to $5,000, $20.
Jeremy must be punished for stealing that money.
So that's why I think,
Jeremy's grown.
So that's what I think.
If Jeremy has really grown, he'll face the consequences of his actions.
Because I think
And
that
you're saying that's selfish.
Huh?
And you're saying that's selfish.
No. In that case, I don't have an answer for that one. I was talking
The cheating
specifically about that one. Okay. But I think that even like what you were saying, that Jeremy must be punished for his actions. I feel like that's the mood that we're moving towards in the world now. Where, especially because I feel like there's a bigger view for everyone of the world with the internet and stuff like that. So we can see how other people live, we can see all of this sort of stuff, and we know how other people think, and we know that there's, this is an assumption, but I'd like to believe it's true. We know that there's more good people than there are bad people. And it's frustrating to us that we see that the good people who are playing life, doing things by the rules and all of that sort of stuff, are still getting shafted by these people who get away with everything, right? Like your Bernie Madoffs, who I think he's still in, like, he's like in a resort jail or something like that. The dude who like embezzled like billions of dollars from his clients, and like he was like an investment charity. He was just taking money from one person, giving it to the other.
Nice.
Nice. So I think I wonder about, because I feel like we feel like it's justice for people to pay for their actions, and for people for people to basically not, for us, makes us feel better about doing the right thing when we see people getting punished for doing the things that we have chosen not to do. And in an ideal society that works out, and obviously there are some people who get caught while in the midst of doing the thing, and I think for real, they do need to get caught. But I think when people don't get caught and they make the decision, like, you know what, I'm going to do good. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. Like when you hear about an actor or a celebrity who's they've done a nonsense in the past, but they have all these charities that they give to and all these things that they I don't know that they do. I think it's some sign of them growing, some sign of them like trying to be better. So
Whether it's right or not.
Yeah. So is the punishment all that necessary? I'm actually asking this. I actually don't know.
So maybe not punishment is
It's punishment. Bro.
is a harsh word. Because what you're alluding to is more of a sign of true repentance or a change.
Yeah.
So, for me, in the cheating scenario with Jeremy, if Jeremy had truly changed from 10 years ago, him telling his wife that 10 years ago he did a certain thing, and she's experienced Jeremy for the last 10 years, it shouldn't make a difference.
I need comments on this one.
If he's really then
Should make a difference to who?
to her. So
Okay.
Jeremy should expect that this wife, and he has shown that he's truly not that person that he was then.
Right,
She should then
right.
be like, no, I understand. 10 years ago was a long time ago. You might have been a trash out. You might have been younger. Who you've been to me for the last 10 years and to our family shows that you're not that person. So Jeremy should be okay with having that conversation with his wife.
Let me tune you, Zimbo Days, right?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing for me. So let's not even be
Stop
Jeremy.
burning your clothes.
You can be, let's say it's me, and then my wife 10 years from now says to me, 10 years ago I cheated on you. Like, I would feel like we've been living a lie for the last 10 years, and that's the problem. So even if I then find out, it literally then feels like, so it wasn't genuine, wasn't real, even if you felt like, no, I changed, I moved on, and I wasn't this person. I would want to know. Regardless whether she felt it was selfish for her to tell me or not, because she's genuinely changed.
She blows up the family.
I want to be able to deal
Kids
with that.
involved,
Yeah.
and like all of that stuff. I actually knew a situation where there was like a family where there was like infidelity, and then they had a son who was a junior, and so the thing blew up when they were like, but he was in his final year of uni, so they actually decided as a family, we're not going to tell Junior because he's out there. It's what, so we're not going to tell him until he's done with his exam, because literally it would have derailed. It would have
No,
derailed.
it would have.
Yeah.
It would have. Like,
Yeah.
it would have. That's.
So like that's why I think that's why I'm looking at it and I'm like, hey, this is a mess. This is actually a span, and I don't know. By the way, I'm not saying that this is the way that it should be. I'm literally saying that this is what I think. I feel like nowadays that it feels selfish to tell the person, because I think the only person who really gets absolution in that situation is
Jeremy.
Is Jeremy. Because then Jeremy, he's done it out. Things are out in the open for him. But now he's given his wife and his family a ticking time bomb. Like, and it's like, it's not even a ticking time bomb. That's a bad analogy. But he's basically given them this huge thing to deal with. That he's already on his own made his own peace and da da da. And
Just got this picture of Jeremy walking around going.
That's honestly
Things are blowing up behind him.
That's honestly how I feel. That's honestly how I feel the situation is. Like, that's honestly how I feel the situation is. Where he's blowing up everything. It's like
Cool
it's-
guys don't look back at
Yeah,
explosions.
that's what I'm saying.
Cool guys don't look back at explosions. They blow things up and they walk away.
The VHS cover of Die Hard. Like, that's what it is. Yeah, and then this wife now has to deal with this huge guan every time she's because there's no way that it's going to end badly. I think definitely if it then comes to a place where it's like, I mean, I was being wild, and it's definitely these streets are going to know that this happened. Like, I think you're gonna have to, because it's better that she hears it from you than anyone else.
Yeah.
But let's say if you went off on some business trip to Azerbaijan and you met some
Azerbaijan.
he met some Dage there and I don't know, did something to it, and then he came back, and there's no chance that Azerbaijanets
Yeah,
is
but
going to
now,
come back.
but you're basing his confessing to whether he's gonna get caught or not whether he's remorseful or not.
No, Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think the remorse and the consequences of his actions are separate. Like, because in the same way, for example, the reaction of the family is going to be the same regardless of whether or not he's remorseful.
Yes.
So
Not necessarily.
well,
No, but it could only get worse. So remorse, pain level could be at 8. But if he's not remorseful and he gets caught, 15. So it can only get worse.
we're talking about the initial blowout.
Okay.
Yeah, the initial blowout.
Oh, because I was then going to ask, is how then does someone communicate that they're truly remorseful? How does an individual, like you're saying, they're the only person that knows when they're truly remorseful. How do they communicate to the rest of us who are affected by their actions that they're truly remorseful?
Maybe they don't.
Because I feel like this case, this system isn't, because if we're saying that the system isn't rewarding the truly contrite, it's rewarding the good actors.
So is the one that you're proposing, the take to your grave. So if I can pretend for a good 5 years until it doesn't matter anymore, I'm rewarded. If I'm able to act well, if I'm able to hide well enough.
Yeah,
What do you mean
because I'm sorry.
What's the reward? What?
He's saying the system is rewarding the good actors.
Oh,
not necessarily
okay.
truly
But
contrite.
yeah, because my issue, but what I was trying to say now is, yes, I do get what you're saying, that yeah, it rewards the person in the same way. But what I was saying is that the damage is lesser in that situation, because like the guy can still blow up his whole family, say that I'm sorry and and if he's not truly remorseful, he's still going to do it again, and he's still going to you know, do the nonsense and break things up. But we feel better because he said it nicely, and he
Now sit down, family. So really?
Because this is the assumption that there's this universe where stuff never gets out. That's what we're working with here.
You think there's a world where stuff? You think there's a world where stuff? You think sorry, that
there's a
things always get
universe
out.
where stuff always gets out. And I think with that time, it's always worse when it comes out later.
I agree.
Agreed.
100%
Agreed. You know what? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I think within my walls, I've seen stuff where people have gotten away with stuff, but I can never tell whether they're remorseful or not. Which is why I went back to the point to say, I just don't know. You know, someone will be like, yeah, balls that. And then that's kind of it. And then I've seen a similar environment where people get caught. But we're still talking about Jeremy, right? People get caught. Jeremy Abad, you know, and the remorse is only based on the fact that they got caught. Their motive was not to change. They only changed because they got busted, and then they rewound and they said,
They basically
I can use my family.
Survival was there.
Yeah, the zombies.
So wait, here's an interesting thought experiment, and I know I'm contradicting my point from before.
Why
but
are you doing it?
Because we're conversation moving. But the idea of remorse and whatnot, it's because I'm assuming that we're saying that we want a society where people are genuine and their heart's in the right place when they're going about things. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, let's say that in a system where that's going on, so let's take it back to outside of the realm of cheating, and let's talk about racism, right? So let's say that we have a situation where somebody is racist in their heads, right? And they just don't like me, the black ducky, chocolate monkey, whatever words they have to say about me in their head, right? Yeah.
Yes, chocolate monkey.
So in this head, I approach this guy, and in his head, he wants to be like, this dirty nigga coming into my store, I don't want to serve him or anything like that.
Yeah.
But because he knows how society will lynch him if he does anything of that sort, he will still treat me the same way that he treats anyone else.
Morning.
Now, what is important there? Is it important that he treats me right, or is it important that his heart is in the right place? Because his heart could be in the right place, but he treats me like garbage. Well, I guess he wouldn't treat me like garbage if his heart was in the right place. But basically, what I'm saying is, if is the result more important than the intent here?
I like that. I haven't got an answer, but I like what you've asked, because that is, I kind of feel we experience that every other day. We experience that every other day, where I kind of sense I can walk into a place and know I'm not welcome, right? But because this is the society we're in, we're the majority, I then get served. You know, the same service as anyone else would get, but it's under duress. You know, are they supposed to be in a position where they're rather they be genuine and say, I don't want to serve you blacks, or I don't want to serve you whites, or I don't want to serve you Indians? What would you prefer? Someone who's genuine? You train with white people.
Do you like your racism diet or original flavor?
You refuse to answer it.
No, it's a false dichotomy. I want both. I want them to care and to genuinely and to treat me right.
That's impossible. You're not gonna get that, man.
I'm not happy with.
You're only gonna get that from your wife and maybe your parents.
But that's what we're striving for. That's what all these conversations are about, in terms of enlightening and getting people to the point where they just don't pretend to act a certain way, but they genuinely are rethinking the way their perceptions and the way that they think and the way that they see things.
Okay, let me get controversial. Do you think the last 10 different race people you've interacted with have genuinely interacted with you and had no problems with the fact that you're black?
You say, well, we never know. I would like to think so, based on how they react, how they behave. But like you're saying, yeah, we could just be rewarding good actors. And genuinely for that hour that we're together, this is how they behave in this space and in this environment. But for me, so like the example you were saying, I work out with other races. The way they treat me and behave outside of that space where we know each other leads me to believe that they genuinely are.
They're all good.
Regardless whether I was black, white, pink, brown, they would treat me the same.
I beg to differ.
Well, I feel like that's the same thing. Black, white, pink, brown.
Yeah. Playing it safe. Yeah. So I have moments where I feel someone's either, you come into someone's space in the gym and they walk away. Those things still happen in the gym. They still happen. But I also get more worried because there are times where I have to ask myself, did I walk away because this person's come into my space? I'm being genuine here.
Don't use that up.
In the morning I don't bark. I just go straight into it. I don't. It's cold.
You just be spelling spicy. And you're just trying to get away.
Racist.
Okay,
But
so like
that's real.
I think to bring it back to growth, right? The idea that why do I always start my sentences like that? I think it sounds smart, but then I
No, but you do sound smart.
I'm then trying to like clamor to find something after that.
Let's
Whenever
go back to
whenever I say the idea, just know that I haven't fully formed whatever I'm trying to say.
the Inangunis are going,
But we're still going. But yeah, to bring it back to growth, right? We have, like we're saying, we're now talking about these actors and whatnot, right? The idea of fake it till you make it, right? So, and we've now spoken about, okay, fine, when you get caught for your inner thoughts and who you truly are, and we've now spoken about like, okay, fine, what's more important, the result or totally whatever we just said. Summarize it, and then and now I want to bring it back to like the idea of, okay, fine, let's we've explored these ideas enough to go back to that original quote growth quad, I think, and have like an interesting conversation. When in the case of like this kid, for example, who has now been, his childhood has been rescinded. Are we saying, with what we've just spoken about, what are your stances? Do you think Harvard made the right decision? Is this the move that we should, is this how we should be treating people going forward? Is it, does it need more work? Is it, I don't know. What are people thinking?
What do you think?
I might not have made the same decision Harvard made, but I respect it and accept it, and I think they made the right call for them. Because I think we need to teach our society that there are consequences for the things that we do online. Grave, large, huge consequences. And I think one of those...
So if you're caught, all bets are off.
In this specific situation, yes. I think might then be dealt with by a situation basis. But I think in this situation, 2 years later, he'll then have an opportunity to prove himself again, to show that he really is a reformed individual, and he can apply next year.
Bro, you know he ain't proving nothing. You know he's not proving nothing 2 years down the line. You know it. Okay, so we're basically saying, kid, potential to be a great person.
Yeah.
Right? Football hooligan who says racist words in his court.
Yeah.
Same WhatsApp.
Yep. Because I believe it'll even itself out later. So he'll learn from this experience and continue on his path of goodness. He'll learn from this experience.
That's an interesting thing. That's an interesting, because you often hear about these stories of like, oh, this random racist person does some racist thing, and you never hear about them like saying, hey, I learned my lessons, and then it's always like, it always seems to stop right there. So I don't know if that's because of society or because that one just gave up.
And it's like,
What do you think, Rudy?
I need to go back to this. You can't compare this guy to a football hooligan. Yes, racist comment, very wrong, right? But if we were to hand on heart, and I would love for our viewers or listeners to then give honest opinion, hand on heart, how many times have you passed someone and someone's bored you, but didn't get and this right, and it
bored you. I could bore.
Direct translation. Wow. That's awesome. I used to love when people would be like, you're boring. Yeah, you're boring.
So someone's pissed you off.
Yeah.
But the first thing you do is go to their race instead of just treating them as a human being.
Yeah.
How many guys? And now this guy is not going to Harvard, purely because but it's not like every single person in this country has confessed. You know what? I said this white person was smelly because they walked past and his armpits were smelly. We haven't had people confessing that, but this guy's getting punished.
Don't get me wrong. I think he can grow. I think he can change. I think he might already have.
And I
think this Harvard is part of that process of growth. And he must take it like a man and go through it. And he'll come out the better.
I wouldn't be able to take it as a man. I would.
Because life isn't fair, Rudy. There's a lot of things that are happening to many different people. The same thing. And they work out very differently for different people because of based on where they are. You live in Zimbabwe, bro. We're all in Zimbabwe, but we're not all in the same We're not all of us. We're all in Zimbabwe. We're not all in Zimbabwe. Not all of us don't have electricity.
That's true.
Not all of us. Some of us are importing cars that cost
yellow cars.
and some of us can't afford to get an operation done when we've broken something, but others are importing cars.
True.
Life isn't fair, but it's all part of, I think, the growth.
I think it sucks that he got bounced. Now, Shamu, offer him things and say, all right, we'll beat you. 6 of the best. Or you get your thing.
I think I'm coming around. I think I'm coming around to Gree's way of thinking a little bit, because like I do genuinely believe that because he then said, oh yeah, I was saying this stuff when I was 16, and I'm like 18 now. I've grown, and like for real, like at that age, like 2 years, that's a lot of time. That's really an effective amount of growth. I would say it would be different if like me as a 33-year-old said, I said that 2 years ago. You now might be like, a bit like that, right? But I do agree that it has to be there has to be a standard. There has to be a line that we stick to, because maybe that line then informs people down the line, like where we're like, okay, fine, we don't tolerate this at all. Now kids are going to be like, hey, bruh, that one was saying that racist stuff in what he thought was a private group. Maybe I should.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem that we have. The problem we have is two two-year-old black and white can sit and play together, do not know the difference between one another, have fun, etc.
Carry on.
Society, Anditi, with time, teaches these two people that you are this color
Yep.
and you treat the other color this way.
Yep.
Anditi.
Yep.
Now, the problem is with what you guys are saying, we've gone back to Old Testament, because we're literally saying, if you do this, you're getting burnt by the stake, or you lightning, boom, something, something will happen to you, and that must be it. It's too rigid. I believe that people make mistakes because we're human beings. Otherwise, we'd all be perfect and in heaven right now.
I think, but maybe is it
Saka
but shouldn't forgiveness happen? I think forgiveness must happen between people, not institutions. Like, hey, actually, that's a bold statement, though.
Yes, say
It's
it.
a bold statement, but I might walk it back a little bit. But I'll, like, just for the sake of this argument, let me say that I think it must be the black kids who are in that study group should be able to should be then say, okay, fine, we're going to forgive him. But Harvard as an institution doesn't. Let me say they don't have the obligation to forgive.
Yeah, but we even know that the people who made the decision for him to be scratched, there is a possibility that they actually think the very same thing that guy does. But because they act and they hide it, it's all good.
What do you think about time playing a factor as well? Like, I always.
Do that again. It's really cool.
So cool.
You're a cheap date. Like something that I always thought about, like when you would hear these issues of like comedians, and like for example, let's take Kevin Hart, since we've already spoken about him. Like where it was like, 10 years ago he did this thing, right? And then now the blogs and like all that stuff, they now bring.
Was that thing
stuff
even
up.
a racist thing, or was part of his act?
It was a joke, but it was an inappropriate joke, and I think he even admitted it was an inappropriate
But I laughed
joke.
at it.
Yeah, we all, and that's actually
laughed at it.
that's actually part of my point.
Because he was
like,
talking about his son, he was like, "Stop it, that's gay."
Yeah, and so it was.
You're laughing now.
So here's what I'm trying to say, right? The fact that it comes out now, right, 10 years later, why didn't it come out then? Because that was the culture then. It was normal then. Nobody was like, so like even we had the conversation in here, like do you think that there were Christian slave owners who will probably go to heaven?
You're the one closest to heaven right now, so
Because those guys,
like
let me not give an answer to that, because I feel like that will be its own thing. But what I'm trying to say is there are things that are acceptable at a certain time because of that's what the world in as a whole then decides that was okay. And then what ends up happening is when things move forward and we're happy about that things have moved forward, we sometimes look back at these people who aren't doing the same things, but then we then use them as an example for, this is what people were like. Not even this is what people were like at this time. We're like, you were like this back then. Even though we were all laughing at his jokes. He was given a platform to say those jokes. He was like, it's like, what am I trying to say? I'm basically trying to say that what do we have to say for time playing a factor in some of these decisions? Like, yeah, I'll leave it
no,
at that.
I feel what you're saying. Do you think Christian slave owners gonna have?
I'm not gonna go down that rabbit.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
But can I say I because there was a certain part
I think you'll just bleep it.
many years. No, if they bleep me, I'm just kidding.
I think they
Because
do too.
if you keep going further back, there's always a conversation about even the children of Israel having slaves, and they were called slaves. Let's not dig too deep because we're gonna get punished by somebody.
But I agree, they probably are in heaven. But what I don't think is that they should be absolved for those actions.
Oh, so
So
you're
yes,
arguing
they could
for
have
you're arguing
changed.
for a person to be complex.
Yes,
That they
exactly.
have the nonsense. They have the nonsense over here,
Yes.
but that nonsense over there doesn't take away from this goodness over
Exactly.
Okay.
So yes, over time you can grow, but when the time then comes, or you need to also be facing who you were before.
here. I think
Okay, what about an 80-year-old white person who all they knew was they are.
We must take the time and the effort to teach them better now.
They ain't got no time. They 80 years old.
In the 5 years they have left, we must bring them
Okay,
along
there's
so
no
that they
choice.
so that they're with us.
I'm giving grandpa racist 5 years. So what we're saying is, you are advocating for people being complex, like not just as in they have basically some nonsense here, but that nonsense doesn't take away from the goodness on the other side.
Oh yes, Jeremy.
So now my fear is that people don't look at it as, oh, like if this is a person and this is their nonsense, they don't look at it as, oh, here's the person and then here are their 2 bits of nonsense on the side. Rather, and they don't look at it as like, oh, that's his nonsense, and then this is Jeremy, this is him with his goodness and everything else and all of his other stuff going on. Rather, they take Jeremy out of the equation altogether, they put his 2 nonsenses together, and they say Jeremy is the sum of that 2 nonsense, rather than saying, in fact, not even rather than that's the
end.
and I think I think it's unfair. I don't really have a solution or whatever. I get concerned that is currently how we treat people, and I don't know if that's the best way to go.
But like Greece said, we're in a life is not fair. You know, no money for operation, importing cars, etc. etc. I think it's about, are we on the road to educating? Are we doing something about the generation that's coming? Or are we just spiraling further and further down the other way? You know what I mean? What is society doing? Do we feel Zim is even addressing this issue? Or we've just decided,
I'll put myself on the chopping block here. Yeah.
bro, you've been on the block for a while.
Now I'm really putting myself on the block. Let's see the comments coming. The other day I was talking to my wife, and she was like talking about how she used to not like going to clubs. You know, guys would just randomly just come, grab a butt, and like that sort of thing. And then I remember thinking like, that's so wild that like a grown man would just feel like he has the right kuzo, like to do that. But then I remembered, like in my own past, like when I was in high school, that was what guys did. You went and you grabbed girls' butts, and now I can look at myself and say that like I'm ashamed of that behavior. I think it was nonsense, and I would never carry on that behavior myself. But I can't say that it was like us as all the guys who used to do that had a meeting together and we were like, you know what, guys, like that stuff that we did was like. So technically, I've grown out of that behavior.
Right.
I don't know if those other guys have, and I don't know how to even broach that subject. I don't know how to even like go in and say, okay, fine, this is something that needs to be rapped about. This is something that needs to be done, and like all of that. Like, yeah, this is what we need to be doing. So when you're talking about, okay, fine, what is society teaching these young lighties and like all of that sort of stuff? I think that's why I want to be more forgiving of like the little Harvard racist, because I see a lot of nonsense that goes on amongst kids, right? Situations where there should be adult intervention, situations where people should be talking about this stuff, and I think he was still young enough to not be completely responsible for his actions at that point. He was taught that stuff. He wasn't yet at the age where he was like, okay, fine, I now can be critical and I know these type of people and these type of people, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think there now needs to be more of an effort on us, the older people, to talk to these lighties and be like, hey, when as soon as you hear like something that's like a little offside, you're like, let's talk this out. Let's settle it down.
Right.
Not boys will be girls, boys will be boys. Girls will do as they do.
It is July coming up. But yeah, I think we just need to start seeing people as more complex beings. That they are with their good and with their nons, and see them as all people.
True. The sooner we can do that,
For this.
And I think it's also our responsibility. Uncle Ben said it best. To who, with great power comes great responsibility.
There we go.
I think even
It
just
is
our
our
insight and our knowledge and our wokeness, it must then be transferred and taken to.
The
anyone
question
else and
is,
others.
what are you doing to see people for what they are and not leave them as they are, but accept them for who they are, even with the little problems that they've come with, especially if they've owned up to those things or they're remorseful or they've changed.
What are you doing to
but
help across? Yeah.
And even other questions, like the most important question: should Jeremy tell his wife? Like that's the number one item. No, I'm joking. But like, yeah, I mean, like, what do you guys like? Yeah, what do you like? What we've just said. What do you feel about growth? What do you, how much room are you supposed to give someone to grow past their nonsense? Are we not supposed to do that? How do we get better? How do we make sure that your little boys and your little girls aren't running wild in the streets?
Boys will be girls.
Yeah,
Girls and boys.
this is us.
This is
This is